Too much kindness will kill you faster than too much wickedness. Or is it that too much wickedness pretending to be kindness will kill you?
You are now listening to The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay on Spotify. A podcast aimed to uncover and share the stories behind heinous and insane acts that have been overlooked or overshadowed by mainstream media, getting justice for the voices that can't speak.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kay, and I am the host of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. A podcast designed to focus on crimes committed in the Black community that you don't hear about in mainstream media, giving a voice to those victims that have otherwise been silenced. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another amazing week with your girl Kay. It is Sunday, May 25th, 2025, and a happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody. Y'all already know what that means. That means lots of food, cookouts, drinking, spades, everything else, and you get the day off. But if you're like me, you got to go into work, but that's okay because that's that good old holiday pay. But real quick, let's give a moment of silence for those that gave their lives serving our country. All right, we appreciate those that have given their lives, that were on the front lines, fighting for us, fighting for our country. We appreciate you. Y'all, there is a difference between Memorial Day and Labor Day because people get it confused all the time. Okay, Memorial Day is to honor those that have passed serving our country. Okay, just saying. But again, happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody. Y'all, it is hot as fish grease outside. But you know what? It's okay because I'm in here sipping on my wine, ready to give y'all this good old episode. Now, let me tell y'all, okay? I'm going to go ahead and let you know this episode here, baby, if you like me, oh, it's about to have you hotter than the Nottaway plantation fully engulfed. Okay. Now, I will say, please note that this case does involve rape, so listener discretion is advised. Now, what y'all sipping on? Like I said, I got me a glass of Stella Rosa Peach, and shout out to Stella Rosa as always on the good drinks. They keep me right. I didn't want to, do anything too heavy because I have to go to work in the morning, and baby, I get up before Jesus and the chickens. Good Lord, it be dark outside when I get up. Jesus. But I got my hot tamales and my wine, so I'm feeling good right about now. Now, baby, what you drinking on? Pull up if you haven't already, okay? I'm trying to see if y'all got them red solo cups. I know I do. Now, this case is guaranteed to have your mouths dropping. So I'm not even going to waste y'all time with the jibber jabber. We just going to go ahead and get into it, okay? So buckle up, hop on in, buckle up and get ready to ride, baby, because we going all the way back to 1992. And we going to that good old Louisiana, baby. I'm gonna try to see how my Louisiana go today, baby. Okay. Y'all already know what time it is. Let's get it. This week's case involves Connie Warner, victim, Randy Mabrewer, victim, Gina Green, victim, Geraldine DeSoto, victim, Charlotte Pace, victim, Pamela Kennemore, victim, Trinisha Colomb, victim, Carrie Yoder, victim, Diane Alexander, surviving victim, Jacqueline Sims, Derek's wife and first surviving victim, Cassandra Green, Derek's girlfriend and another surviving victim, and our infamous murderer of the week, Derek Lee, aka the Baton Rouge serial killer. Derek Todd Lee was born November 5th, 1968, to Florence and Samuel Lee in St. Francisville, Louisiana. Now, he was the second of four children and the only boy. I think it would be safe to say that there were some familial issues as far back as Derek could remember because Derek's father, Samuel, see, he suffered from mental illness, like really bad, like to the point that right after Derek was born, Samuel said, "Yeah, I ain't trying to do this shit no more." and he dipped, okay? Papa was a rolling stone, and baby, wherever he laid his hat, it was not at that home. But then he turned around and had 2 more kids with her, so I mean, hey. And it only escalated because after he left and, came back and slid up in the thing a couple of more times, Samuel tried to kill Florence and ended up being charged with attempted murder and locked away in a mental institution. And now, Florence, she got 4 kids to think about. So, she done moved on in her life. She was like, bye, Sam. And she met her new man, Coleman Barrow. And, it's safe to say that they fell in love because she married him. And Coleman stepped right up to the plate and he became the positive male influence that Derek and his sisters needed. Well, at least he thought he did. Now, Derek had certain issues that he had to deal with from jump. One was his style of learning. Derek was in special education classes because his IQ was a little lower than average. But while his IQ was a little slow, other parts of him weren't, like his hormones. He started getting into trouble at a early age, and it mainly dealt with his curiosity for the female anatomy. He was always trying to see basically ass and titties. Ass, titties, and pussy. That's what he was trying to see. Before he was 11 years old, he had been caught peeping into the neighborhood girls' windows quite a few times. And the more that he got caught, the more it excited him. But then things kind of escalated. He started torturing the animals in the neighborhood. Like, see, anytime I hear about somebody that's like killing animals or torturing them, it automatically screams serial killer. Like, because nobody does some stuff like that just because. Like, that's some serial killer, Netflix documentary type stuff right there. But I guess that wasn't enough for him because a few years later, at 13 years old, Derek gets arrested for simple burglary. I guess it wasn't so simple because clearly he got caught, but okay. So the cops were well aware of who he was, but they couldn't really lock him up for anything major, which I really think that's bogus, but okay. Like, well, when he turned 16, he pulled a knife on a boy and tried to kill him. Now, this time he was charged with attempted second degree murder, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because he was a juvenile or what, but he didn't do any serious time. Like, attempted murder is a serious charge. He's 16 years old. It's not like he's, 5. It's not like he's 10 and didn't know any better. Like, this is a 16-year-old boy that knew what he was doing. But for whatever reason, he ain't do no hard time. So I'm just like, okay, all right. But he ends up dropping out of high school and just kind of doing nothing with his life. And I guess he figured, you know what? Why not go back to what I do best? Because homie starts peeking in windows again. And just like before, he's arrested, but he doesn't get locked up. Like, who keeps he keeps doing the same stuff, but y'all won't lock him up. Like, why? He is showing y'all he sucks as a criminal. He is showing y'all he's not gonna stop. It's gonna take locking him up to get him to stop because otherwise he's gonna keep doing it, thinking, oh, well, I can get away with this. All they're gonna do is arrest me and I could go home. I guess at some point he decided that he wanted to settle down and, get his life right because in 1988, Derek, at the tender age of 20, he meets Jacqueline Denise Sims, and the two decide to get married. And when I say, baby, she was wide open for him. She just, oh, she loved him unconditionally. And, he loved her. And that love produced his son, Derek Todd Lee Jr. And him and Jacqueline, they were living their perfect life when a few years later, Jacqueline gets pregnant again. And in 1992, she gives birth to a baby girl, Doris Lee. Ooh, that's a strong name right there. Doris. Lord have mercy. Okay. Now, shortly after his daughter was born, his first victim was killed. Now, it's confirmed, but it's not confirmed about the victim because of the lack of evidence and body. But in 1992, Derek crosses paths with Connie Warner. Connie Warner was born August 30th, 1950, in Bogalusa, Washington Parish, Louisiana. She was an accountant and a very hard worker who did everything for her daughter and her family. She met the love of her life, Ben Warner, and in 1970, at only 20 years old, she got married. I swear folks was marrying hella early back then. Like, I'm still trying to find myself at 20 years old, but go off. Like, these folks was barely out their teens. Good Lord. But the two of them get married, and she gave him a daughter, Tracy Warner. They moved to Zachary, where they raised their daughter until the two decided to divorce. Now, as time went on, Connie got to the point that she couldn't drive at night. And, she had them old school grandma frames, like for real, for real. Them lenses was so thick you could see into the past, present, and future. Mm, Lord knows, I know a couple of people that got glasses like those. But yeah, so Connie has, raised her baby Tracy, who obviously has moved out of the house as she got older. Tracy starts dating this guy named Andre Burgos. Now, they went to high school together and were getting ready to go to college. Now, Andre plays a key part in this, so just remember that name, okay? Andre and Tracy, they love each other and they're spending a lot of time together. They're even hanging out with her mom. Like, her mom loves Andre. But someone else is spending time at Connie's house too. And that somebody is Derek Lee. Around August 17th, 1992, Connie's coming home. And when she gets in the house, like she feels like somebody is watching her. Like, ladies, y'all know that feeling. Like you just sitting there, you doing your thing, and you just feel like somebody's watching you. And then when you look up, it's like nobody there. But Connie, she knows better. She's like, okay, something's going on. And she's in the house one day and she's winding down and she's got that feeling again. And sure enough, she looks up and she sees a man standing outside her window. And she calls 911 and she tells them, I see someone outside my window. I don't know what he's doing out there, but something ain't right. He's scaring me. Now, Andre had come over one day to see Tracy so that he could take her to orientation at LSU. And he sees the guy too. Clear as day. It's a black man. It's like 5'10", just standing there. And the man is kind of like looming around. And Andre approaches him and he was like, can I help you with something? And the man just mumbles like, oh, fucking business, and just rushes off. Now, Andre doesn't think anything of it at the time, but about a week later, oh, he wishes he had. So it's around August 22nd, 1992. And once again, Connie's at home. Now she lives in the Oak Shadows subdivision and it's early evening and Connie's doing stuff in the house and she manages to go to her bedroom. So she hears something in the house and she gets ready to go look and see what it is because she's like, okay, well, maybe it's Tracy or, maybe something fell or something. So she gets up and she starts walking through the house and suddenly she's just grabbed. Her attacker grabs her and she's fighting for her life. And she realizes when she sees the man that is none other than Derek Lee, the man that was standing outside of her home that the cops had, ran off. And she's kicking and screaming, help, help. But he's got her in a tight grip. He's flinging her around, knocked her mattress off the box spring. Hell, he even knocked her glasses off her face. Her room had been just completely turned upside down. And he rapes her, he beats her, and then drags her through the carport and throws her into her car. She's screaming and crying for help. She's sick to her stomach, and he takes off, but he leaves a trail of blood by her washing machine. He gets her in the car, he takes her to Capitol Lake, and he's driving, and she's screaming the whole time, "Help me, somebody help me, just please let me go, help." And she's throwing up because she's disgusted, she's, hurt, she's injured, she's been raped and beaten. And after she throws up, he pulls the car over, he yanks her body out, dumps her body, and just drives off, leaving her to die. He takes the car back to her house, though, and leaves it there. Now, not long after, Tracy calls her mother, but she doesn't hear anything. And she calls again, still no answer. Connie is on the side of the road trying to fight, trying to stay alive after being beaten so badly. But after Derek dropped that car off back at her house, he doubled back and made sure that he finished the job. So Tracy, she's still calling her mom, but she's not getting any answer. And something in her gut is saying, you know what, something's not right. So she calls her grandfather and she was like, hey, can you go over with me to mom's house? And so they head over there. But when they get there, instantly Tracy just knows that something is off. And her grandfather's looking around and he sees that, the once normal house is now complete disarray. So they're walking around through the house and he's seeing stuff everywhere and he's asking Tracy, is it supposed to look like this? And she's like, no. And then she sees her mother's glasses on the bedroom floor. And that's confirmation that something's up because Connie's not able to drive at night because of her vision. So Tracy decides, all right, it's time to call the police. The police come out and they do their investigation and they start asking questions and getting details. And something about Andre's answers wasn't coming off truthful to the officers because at this point, Andre is there. He's trying to make sure Tracy's good. He's comforting her. These are two young kids. And unfortunately, their stories didn't match for whatever reason. Like, I don't know if they felt like they were going to be in trouble, because some of the things that were asked, they weren't supposed to be doing. Who knows? But Connie's car is there with blood and her body fluid in it. Then, 2 days later, the unthinkable happens, and it puts the investigation to a screeching halt. Hurricane Andrew. Baby, that hurricane came through there and wrecked shop, snatching up everybody and everything. So they had, no way of really investigating because the freaking storm washed a lot of it away, like a lot. It wasn't until maybe 2 weeks later that her daughter was able to, really get some peace. So supposedly, Connie's body was found in a ditch near Capitol Lake. Now, this is where stories are conflicting because some are saying that Connie's body was never found, but then there are some saying that it was found near Capitol Lake. And, of course, Derek, he ain't phased by none of this. He out there living his best life like ain't shit happened. And he's being the hardworking man and earning a living in construction. His wife is out there bragging about how her man is taking care of the bills and how, they got these two kids that they love and he's taking care of. She's all, oh, my man, my man, my man. And, on the weekends, he would tell her, hey, baby, you and the kids get dressed. I'm going to take y'all out. That's exactly what he would do. He knew how to please his wife and he knew how to, please himself too, since he was still somewhat doing him. Now, although he was being the family man, he was still very much getting into trouble. He was out there hoeing around at the bar while his wife and kids was at home. And you know what they say, old habits die hard. Because in November of 1992, Derek is looking for something to get into and he decides to break into the home of Rob Bengy. He was going to rob the house. Now, unfortunately for him, Rob was home, so, the cops were called and Derek was arrested. But it wasn't enough to scare some sense into Derek because 2 months later, January of 1993, Derek is kicking it with his boy Thomas Whitaker Jr., and they decide they're going to break into the house of this elderly man, 73-year-old Melvin Foster. I guess they figured, it'll be easier to get his ass if he old because he can't fight back. And that's exactly what they do. They get a stick and they start beating this man within an inch of his life, and then they rob him. Now, luckily, he survives and the cops are called. And so Derek and his boy are arrested, and this time they go to trial. Now, the trial is in July of 1993, and the entire time, Jacqueline, his wife, is holding him down because Derek actually gets sentenced to a year in prison. Okay. Finally, this man gets arrested. Too bad it's not for, murder, but he's in prison nonetheless. Now, when he does get out, he chills out for a hot minute, but it doesn't take him long before he's back to the regular bullshit. In September 1995, he's back to peeping in windows and he gets caught. Now, he takes off running this time, and the cops have to chase this man down. They eventually arrest him and he gets out. And when he does get out, he goes right back to trouble. This time he robs a Salvation Army thrift store. Oh, stupid ass. So he gets arrested again in August of 1997. Once again, he gets arrested for peeping. And his wife is just like, okay, Derek, now I'm about sick of this now. Now you supposed to be my husband, but you can't stay away from these bitches. And Derek, he got to keep her chill. He don't need her blowing up his spot. Babe, I'm sorry. It's a sickness. I need help. Just give me another chance. Please, baby, 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 please, please give me another chance. And she did. And they made up and she ends up pregnant. Now, while his wife is home being blissfully ignorant to the bullshit and pregnant with their third child, he came across Randy Mabrewer. Now, I don't know if it was like the thirst for a kill again or if it was the rush from not getting caught the last time, but Derek was on the hunt. And, at this point, it had been several years that had passed. So maybe he was just getting that itch again. I don't know. Remember, Connie died in 1992 and it's now 1998. And Derek, despite, constantly being caught for being a peeping Tom and, basically sucking at being a criminal, he's not been caught for murder. So, you know, I guess he feels like he can get away with it. And he goes right back to where it started to get his next victim, Randy Mabrewer. Randy Jane Sersleskowitz. Oh, I'm sorry if I said that last name wrong, but the last name I believe is Sir Serslowicz. Serslowicz. We just gonna say Randy C. Okay, Randy Jane. That's what we're gonna call it. Randy Jane. Randy Jane was born March 18th, 1970, in Brooklyn, New York. Now, unfortunately, there's not really much on her. Like when I say nothing, I couldn't even find her parents. Like apparently her citizenship and proof of birth wasn't even established until she was like 5 years old. But she and her family moved from Brooklyn, New York to Louisiana, specifically Zachery, which is the East Baton Rouge parish. Now, once she moved, from what I did find, she got married and she became Randy Mabrewer. But unfortunately, that marriage didn't work. And in that marriage, she did have a son, Michael Edward Mabrewer, whom she just absolutely adored. She took care of her and her son as a home health nurse, and she was very loved by her patients. Now, Randy lived in the same subdivision that Connie once lived in, which was off of Saul Avenue in the Shadow Oak subdivision. Her son Michael was visiting her for the weekend because it was her weekend with him. Her and, his father were in the middle of a divorce and they were splitting custody, so they would trade and, trade off visitation or whatever with Michael. So, it's April 18th, 1998, and it's the middle of the night and Michael is visiting his mom and he wakes up and he starts walking down the hallway because like it's like 3 or 4 in the 3 or 4 in the morning at that time. He's all but 3 years old. But he's walking down the hallway and he hears talking, but he's not thinking anything of it. Like he's like, okay, well, maybe it's the TV or his mom on the phone. He's 3. He don't care about none of that. So he goes back to bed. And the next morning when he wakes up, he's walking around and he's looking for his mom, but he doesn't see her. So after a while, he goes next door to the neighbor's house and he tells the neighbor, I think my mommy's lost. I don't know where my mommy is. And the neighbor sees this sweet baby just looking confused. And of course, they're concerned. So they call 911 and the police come out and they walk into the house and they see a crime scene. There's blood everywhere. And Randy is nowhere to be found. The authorities, they're searching and searching, but they can't find her anywhere. They searched the Whiskey Bay area. They were draining the ponds and the lakes in the area, but nothing. And I'm talking about they spent several years looking for this girl. Like, remember, she was killed in 98 and her body was never found. But there was a lot of blood in that house for sure. Before the authorities gave up their search, there was this one particular pond that they drained, which was off of Highway 61 near Thompson's Creek. It was in the West Feliciana Parish. Now, they did this kind of like solar scan that shows that, it detects human bones. And according to the scan, there were some bones that were large enough to be human at the pond's bottom. Now, this was pretty much their only solid lead that they had. So they get like 3 cadaver dogs and they go out there and the dogs are picking up a scent, but it's still not, it's still not 100% guaranteed. So they start draining it, but then they see that the waters are also infested with alligators. Yeah, see on that, I'm out. I'm out, fam. Can't help you. So they're digging and they drain the pond, but unfortunately, her body was never recovered. And seems like Derek has gotten away with murder yet again. Now, it's now 1999, and a very pregnant Jacqueline gives birth to their last son, Diedrich Lee. And although he was happy to have another son, Derek became an even bigger asshole. Like he was still cheating on Jacqueline to the point that he moved one of his bitches into the house with the kids, though. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. You are not about to move your bitch, your side bitch, into the house where I raise my kids, where I take care of the house. Are you out your fucking mind? Ain't no dick that good. You better get the fuck out of here with that. I wish the ooh, ooh, ooh. This gonna be one of them moments where I'm telling my things to play, take me to the king, cause you about to meet him. You think you gonna bring a bitch up in my house and you already fucking around on me? Nope. See, this is when you know how they say you got the devil on one shoulder and you got the angel on the other? My devil would be on my left shoulder saying, "Oh, he gonna bring a bitch in the house? Fuck him up." And then that angel gonna be on the right one, but it ain't gonna be like, "Oh no." That angel gonna be like, "Bitch, what you waiting on? Let's go." Like, nah, you not doing that. Mm-mm. But for some reason, she's scared of him. She knows that he's living foul and he's up to something. She knows he's being dirty and he's stepping out on her. Like, she's not stupid. She been with him all these years, but she's staying quiet and she's allowing it. And I guess at some point, either she got fed up or he just didn't want to be with her no more because he moved on. He separated from Jacqueline. Now, they never divorced, but they were separated. And he got him a new girlfriend, Cassandra Green. But I told y'all, old habits die hard. Because in August of 1999, right after his last son, Diedrich, was born, Derek goes up to this chick's house and the chick recognizes him. And she was just like, "You the motherfucker that's been looking in my windows." So she calls the cops and they arrest him for stalking. But in December of that same year, they give him a suspended sentence and consider it a misdemeanor. How, at this point, this man has been caught so many times. How are y'all still letting him slide with this? How is he still, getting away? So Derek is chilling one night. It's January of 2000, and him and Cassandra are at the bar. And like he's like flirting in front of her with other women, and Cassandra ain't Jacqueline. She ain't feeling that at all. And she right in his face. What the fuck you think you doing, Derek? And he ain't trying to hear her mouth. He like, man, you better go ahead with that shit right now. I'm trying to tell you, go ahead with that girl. I ain't trying to hear your mouth. And she like, well, I ain't trying to see you disrespecting me in my face, nickel. Next thing you know, he's kicking her and he's stomping her out, like just beating her like she a grown ass man. Told you let that shit go. Fuck wrong with you? And he's just beating her, just bop, bop, bop. Bad. Now someone eventually pulls him off of her and she goes to the hospital. So a few days later, she goes and she gets a restraining order against him and she presses charges. Good for her. And they revoke his probation and he's sent to prison where he does another year. Now, he gets released in February of 2001, and that's when Louisiana is rocked to its foundation. Derek's been out of prison since February, and it didn't take him long before he was snatching women up left and right. His first one was September 24th, 2001. Well, I guess you could say his third one, but September 24th, 2001 was with Gina Green. Gina Sue Wilson was born December 14th, 1959, in Panama City, Florida, to Jack Osby Wilson and Margaret Spencer Wilson. At a young age, they moved to Louisiana where she was raised, and after high school, she attended Hines Community College to further her education. While she was there, she met and fell in love with Mark Green. and he sweeps her off her feet, and then hello, next thing you know, they get married. Another young marriage. And she becomes Gina Wilson Green. Now, after college, she wanted to continue her education because she really liked helping people. So she decided that she wanted to go to nursing school. Okay, that's commendable. I love it. One thing I noticed is that a lot of Derek's victims weren't born in Louisiana and they're like, close to the campus and whatnot in some capacity. It's just a hunch, but I could be wrong. But Gina's in nursing school and living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Now, Mark, he thought the world of her. She was outgoing, vivacious, strong, opinionated, full of life. That's how he recalls her. And even though they loved each other, unfortunately, it didn't work out between the two, and they ended up going their separate ways and divorcing. But they were still really good friends. Shout out to those that can be good friends with their ex spouses because Lord knows I tried. Child, I tried to be friends with my ex husband, but baby, that's a story for another day. Oh, wait, nope, it's going to be in my autobiography. This ain't no fairy tale drops at the end of the year, by the way. Anyway, so now Gina is on her own. And she had just moved into this new neighborhood where she was living on Stanford Avenue. And Derek had been watching the house for a while. And soon he was like, all right, it's time to make my move. It's September 23rd, 2001. And Gina is at home and she's relaxing when she hears a noise. She gets up to go look, and Derek is in her house. And of course, she's scared. There's a large, scary black man in her house. Well, I mean, not that large because he's only like 5'10, but y'all get what I mean. So she's screaming at him, "Get out! Get the hell out of my house! Somebody help me! Oh my God, get out!" She's running to her phone, but she ain't quick enough. Eric grabs Gina and he throws her down. He completely subdues her and he rapes her, and then he strangles her. He kills her, he grabs her cell phone and her purse, and he takes off running. He dips, leaving her body there for someone to find. And after a while, she doesn't show up to work. Now, I couldn't figure out how they found out that she was in that house, but I'm assuming after a couple of days, your body starts to smell. Like, I know after so long, your body is going to start stinking. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's rotten. And it's Louisiana in September. Oh, it's nice and hot and muggy. So I know that body was funky and fermenting. But they find her in her home dead and they begin their investigation. A few weeks later, in an alley on Choctaw Street, her cell phone is found. Her purse was never found, which isn't surprising because Derek stayed robbing people, so he probably trashed that. But her family is notified and they're devastated. They've got to plan this funeral. They don't know what made this man pick her. They just want answers. Gina's buried in Natchez, Mississippi. And, now, of course, they're trying to figure out who did this because they have absolutely no leads. Who would want to hurt her? The only person that they could think of is her ex-husband, Mark. Naturally, they automatically will assume it's the spouse anytime you have a situation where there's homicide. So they look at the ex-husband, Mark, but it doesn't take them long to figure out he ain't have nothing to do with that. So they ended up letting him go and clearing him as a suspect. But they got to figure out something because this woman just pops up dead. They've got DNA evidence and they take it to the crime lab at the Louisiana State Police Department, but it's coming up empty, which was perfect for Derek because this is giving him opportunity to move on to his next victim. And just a few months later, he gets his next victim, Geraldine DeSoto. Geraldine Amanda Barr was born April 18th, 1980 in Pineville, Louisiana, to John and Melanie Barr. She had two sisters, Brandy and Heather, and they were a house full of estrogen. Oof. I feel for their daddy child because you the only male in a house full of women. Shoot. Listen, I know how it is being the only female and all this testosterone is around me. Okay. I be ready to take somebody up out of here many a day because woo, they be trying me. Now, Geraldine went by the name Sissy. I'm just assuming it's because she had sisters and, that's like, yeah, that makes the most sense to me. But she was very close with her sisters. She attended, look here, I'm going to say this wrong, people. If I say it wrong, leave me alone. Okay. I, I believe it is called Avoyelles High School. Again, if I got the name wrong, y'all charge it to my head, not my heart, okay? Like somebody corrected me on last week's episode and was like, "It's pronounced weak way." And I'm like, "Look, the shit wasn't spelled like that, okay? I ain't gonna always get it perfect, all right? Okay?" But like I said, she attended Avoyelles High School. She played basketball in high school and was the number 34, where she dominated the boards according to her classmates. Many of her classmates and her friends said that they played basketball so that they could try to be like her. And she graduated as a junior in 1997, which is amazing because it tells you how smart she was. Now, after she graduated early, she attended Louisiana College for a while before she decided to transfer to Louisiana State University. And again, shout out to LSU. Y'all done produced so many people, Shaq, Shakari Richardson. So, yeah, much love to y'all. Now, at LSU, she majored in kinesiology and she got her degree. She was happy, especially since she had met and married the love of her life, Darren DeSoto. Now, after she married him, she became Geraldine DeSoto. Pause. What the hell is up with all these folks getting married hella young? This girl was 21. Like, I wonder what her folks had to say. Like, it, it's not making sense to me. Like every single case, it seems like the girl gets married young, and it's not even a military town. So that's why I'm just like, what the hell? Like nobody was in the military that did it, but I guess so. They're living their dream, and they're living in Addis, Louisiana, and then that dream turned into a nightmare when tragedy struck. January 14th, 2002, Geraldine is at home, and it's somewhere between noon and 2 p.m. She had to go to LSU because she wanted to register to take some graduate courses. So when she gets home, she's by herself, and her husband Darren is at work or, doing something other than being at home. And Derek breaks into her house. He grabs the unsuspecting Geraldine just like he had done the other women, and he beats her something. He beats her something terrible, y'all. Only this time he decides that to kill her, he's gonna stab her. And he stabbed her more than 10 times. And then on top of that, he slashes her throat and takes her phone before he runs out of there. So when Darren comes home, he comes home to a just bloody scene. His wife, his 21-year-old wife, is laying in her own blood, dead. And he calls 911 and he's telling him, please help my wife. Oh my God, my wife is dead. And the cops come out and once again they investigate and they see clearly he's right. She's been stabbed multiple times. Her neck has been slashed. Her phone is missing. Nobody knows where it's at. And so now Darren has to make the devastating, action to call her family. And while the investigation is going on, January 17th, 2002, the family hosts her funeral at Mater Dolorosa Catholic Church, and they bury her in the Masonic Cemetery. The cops were there and they're kind of like combing the area to see if anyone acted out of sorts or anything, but nothing. And after that, Derek was in the wind. But then again, he wasn't though. Like, not even 3 months later, Derek was on to his next victim, Charlotte Pace. Charlotte Murray Pace was born June 28th, 1979, in Jackson, Mississippi, to Casey Culpepper Pace and Ann Pace. That is a full name right there. Ann born in Mississippi. That's how you gotta say it, Mississippi. Now, even though she was born and raised in Jackson, like many of the victims, she ended up moving to Baton Rouge, Louisiana because she became a student at LSU. Yeah, see, this further confirms that homie was lurking on that campus just watching these women. But, She was a student at Louisiana State University. Now, she had graduated from Millsaps College and she was also very smart. Like, she was on the dean's list and had been inducted into the Beta Alpha Psi accounting fraternity. She was a varsity athlete as well because she played on the women's soccer team. She was well-rounded as she sat on the student senate. She also pledged Kappa Delta sorority, and she did various programs with them, like mentoring the kids and doing charity work at the church. Whew, child, she did a lot. And she was one of those that made their presence known. Now, a lot of people felt like maybe that's what caused her demise because she was so vocal and so outgoing, and she got a lot of attention. But honestly, I don't think that was it because a lot of the women had, a lot going for them. Some of them, didn't have as many as activities as her, but they still stood out in their own right. But, be that as it may, Charlotte ends up in a situation where she's fighting for her life. And when I say she fought, oh baby, she fought. Looking for a book that resonates with your soul? Meet Arthur Kay, a master storyteller who weaves tales across multiple genres, from heartwarming romance to gripping urban horror. Whether you're searching for a contemporary romance that sweeps you off your feet or street lit that reflects the realities of life, Kay's writing speaks to the heart of every reader. Her work also passionately highlights the Black Lives Matter movement, bridging narratives that matter. Dive into the journey of discovery, empowerment, and connection through Kay's incredible reads. Visit www.mizk.com today and dive into a world of unforgettable tales. That's www.mzkaye.com. Your next favorite book is just a click away. So, May 31st, 2002, Charlotte goes back to her apartment that she shares with her roommate. Her roommate wasn't home at the time, but she needed to drop by the house real quick because she was trying to get things together for her new job. See, Charlotte had actually just graduated as one of the youngest students to receive a master's of business administration. Yes, educated woman. Come on. But she had to go to the house to get some stuff that she needed because she was taking a job in Atlanta. She hadn't been, in her apartment that long. Like, I think they had just moved when all of a sudden she gets there and Derek is standing in her living room and he goes straight for her. But Charlotte ain't no punk, okay? She not about to go down without a fight. She had heard about the killings and she was going to fight to the death if need be. So, and it was kind of ironic because they said she had so many defensive wounds on her that the cops didn't even know where to begin. Ultimately, Derek overpowers her and he rapes her and he stabs her more than 80 times. Like that, come on, man. That's just overkill. Like you could tell he was mad that she was fighting back for him to stab her so many times. Now, a while later, her roommate comes home and she sees this just horrific and gruesome scene and she's mortified. She sees her roommate laying there dead and she's freaking out and she's panicking and crying. And she's just like, oh my God, I got to call the cops. So she calls 911 and they come in and they cut off the crime scene and they confirm that Charlotte Murray Pace is indeed obviously dead. So y'all want to hear some really crazy shit? Okay, so they block off the crime scene, right? Tell me why there was a man by the name of Jeremiah Pastor that wanted to get his little 15 minutes of fame and wanted to be in the public eye. So, like 5 days after Charlotte's body was discovered, and for no reason, this man climbs through a window into her apartment that the cops had sealed off. Like he's literally stepping in her blood. If you're wondering why nothing had been cleaned up, remember this is an active crime scene. So it's not like they can just, clean stuff up immediately. Like her roommate can't even be in that apartment, nothing. Honestly, I don't want to be in there either, even if I could, especially after seeing that. But Jeremiah climbs his happy ass in the window like it's nothing, just completely invading her dwelling. And of course, he gets arrested and taken to jail where he gets charged with an unauthorized entry of an inhabited dwelling. He pleads guilty, and luckily the family takes it easy on him because they don't want to see him in jail. So the judge takes that into consideration, and Jeremiah ends up serving 6 months in a halfway house. Now, he was only allowed to leave for basic stuff like school, work, or appointments or whatever. He was also given 300 hours of community service. He had to pay $1,000 fine and $500 to the victims reparations fund. And, of course, Charlotte's parents, they're pissed off. He desecrated their baby's house. He ought to be glad that they, still showed him some type of sympathy, some type of mercy. I guess, like I said, I don't know what made him do that. It was his little 15 minutes of fame standing there in that blood. Like, I'm curious, Jeremiah, what was the reason for that?
What was the reason?
Like, seriously, what was the whole point of you breaking into a crime scene? Did you not realize, stupidity, that you were going to get caught? Did you not think that the cops were not still watching the place like for a murder that occurred 5 days prior? They're going to have eyes on that house because they're trying to figure out who did it, dummy. So for you to climb through a window like the idiot that you were, and then you get caught and you get locked up just so that you can say, "Oh, yeah, I climbed through a dead girl's window." What the fuck is wrong with you? That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life, and it's getting to the point because of stuff like that, that Derek isn't even slowing down. He's getting away scot-free. It's like as soon as one body gets discovered, he's already killing another. Like, it wasn't even a month before he found Pamela Kennemore. Pamela Cecilia Piglia was born February 13th, 1958 in Metairie, Louisiana. Is it Metairie? That's what Imma say it is. But she was born to Edward Piglia and Lynn Marino. She grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana with her brother Edward and her 2 sisters, Nancy and Ellen. She graduated from Sacred Heart of Jesus High School. I do believe that's a Catholic school. Wow. And she attended LU. I'm gonna say LU because I think it's pronounced Loyola University. I hope I said that right because that word was whooping my ass when I was going over it earlier. But yeah, she attended LU before she transferred to Louisiana State University, where she graduated with a degree in fine arts. Yes. Now she married Byron S. Kennemore and became Pamela Kennemore. And after a few years of marriage, the two had a child, Jacob Joseph Kennemore. Oh, that's so sweet. So, Pamela really took off in her career. She became a Louisiana licensed realtor, a mortgage representative. She won so many awards and company awards during her tenure when she was working with First Union Mortgage Company. And then when she wasn't working, she was a member of Parkview Baptist Church, St. Elizabeth's Adoption Agency. I love that. Yes, I love to see when people are working towards getting these, lost babies homes. I love it. This lady had a lot going on because she was also an interior designer and business owner. Like, yes, come on now. What's that song? Who run the world, girls? Yeah, I gotta stop drinking. So, Pam owned her own business called Comforts and Joys in Denham Springs, Louisiana, where she was able to put her skills to use. And sadly, Derek was able to put his skills to use too, because he had his sights set on her and she became his next victim. On July 12th, 2002, Pamela comes home to her house at 8338 Briarwood Place in Baton Rouge. And she's winding down from a long day. Her husband is still at work, and Pamela's wanting to kind of enjoy those last few moments of relaxation. Y'all know how it is, ladies. When you get into that routine, you be out working, you come home, you got to cook and clean and all of that. You just want them few little minutes before them little rugrats come home or before that husband come home. You just be like, all right, I just need to relax. And that's how she was. But that never happened. See, Derek found his way inside of her home by knocking on her front door under the guise of needing help. Unbeknownst to the danger that awaited her, she opens the door and she lets him in thinking, she's helping him, but he beats her and he kidnaps her. And when her husband comes home from work later that evening, Pam's car is there, but Pamela's not. So Byron reports her missing, and everyone is looking for her. Pam's family, they're posting flyers everywhere that, have you seen her? Bring our baby back. Please help us find Pamela. Like, they even put up billboards and offered a reward up to $75,000 for her safe return, or at least, information concerning her whereabouts. But just 4 short days later, on July 16th, 2002, a state survey crew was working near the Whiskey Bay Bridge, and they came upon a very gruesome discovery. Located on the boundary line between Baton Rouge and Lafayette, in a marshy area of the woods beneath the bridge, the crews see what they believe is a human figure lying at the water's edge. And as they get closer, they see that this person is naked. It's a naked woman. And that woman was soon identified as Pamela Kennemore. So her family's notified, and they are hurt. Her remains get sent to the New Orleans Parish Coroner's Office, where an autopsy was conducted. And the autopsy showed that Pamela had died from gash wounds to the neck, which they felt were made by a knife. And just like the other women, she had been raped. The only thing that was different with her is that she was older than the others, which was like a bit odd. Like, it was weird because like she was almost twice their age. But this sister, this wife, this mother, this daughter, gone. And it's such a devastating time. But unfortunately, Derek had no plans of slowing down. Even though the cops were just completely confused as to who could do this, and who was just out here hurting these women, they didn't really have any strong leads. And this was working in Derek's favor because a bunch of white women were coming up dead. And at first, initially, these cops didn't think that a black man was even capable of this. They actually did suspect a white man of doing this. It never crossed their mind that there could be a brother out here just killing white women. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that that's something to brag on by far, because at the end of the day, he's still a killer. But be that as it may, despite the fact that Derek had been reported for so many incidents of peeping Tom with some of these women, for some reason it never crossed their mind that he might be the killer. And I don't know if he was intentionally trying to do this, but his next victim, he kind of threw things off course a little bit, because his next victim was the only black girl that he attacked. And that girl was Trenisha Colum. Danae Colum was born April 9th, 1979, in Lafayette Parish, Louisiana, to Sterling Colum Sr. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find anything on her mother outside of the fact that she had passed away, but she did grow up with her father and her brother, Sterling Jr. Trenisha went by her middle name, Danae, and she was very headstrong, to an extent combative, but kind of like in a good way where it stood out. She was one of those that was very much a daredevil. Like, that's what I mean by it. Like, she had tried out for the reality TV show Survivor. Y'all, her audition tape was with her wrestling a pig in the mud. Like, ew, that's nasty, but that's kind of cool. So, she didn't really have a lot of friends, and she was very close to her family, but she wasn't one that really interacted with people on the normal. Like, if she called you her friend, 9 times out of 10, it was because it was somebody that she knew through social media or the internet, or, something like that. But she wasn't the type that would just go out and just meet a stranger and say, "Hey, you want to be my friend?" She she was an overall good girl, like a lot of the prior victims. And hell, she had dreams of being in the military. She had enlisted into the army, and she had been there for about 2 years when she decided that she was going to join the Marines. But she never got an opportunity because one fateful day in November, she crossed paths with the devil himself. November 22nd, 2002, Tranisha goes to her mother's grave to see her. And she's out there spending time with her and, grieving. And after she finishes her visit with her mother, she gets back inside of her Mazda, and she's kind of just, I guess, sitting there reflecting and trying to calm down and, get her peace back. Now, I don't know how this motherfucker is moving so quick to where nobody can see him, but he goes up to her car and pulls the door open, yanking her out. And he drags her to a field where he is literally just beating her. Now, just like Charlotte, she ain't no punk either. She fighting for her life. She not just gonna sit there and take it. Like he gotta literally try to take her down. After all, she is in the army. And so he's fighting her and doing everything to subdue her. And eventually he does. He overpowers her and he beats her in the field, killing her. Now, after her brother and her dad haven't heard from her, they're starting to get a little concerned because they knew that she was going to the gravesite. So they're calling her, they're trying to reach her. And then they get word that her car was found abandoned in nearby Grand Coteau. So at that point, they said, all right, something wrong. So she gets reported missing because that's just not like her to disappear. She doesn't have a lot of friends, so where's she gonna go? And like I said, the last time that they heard, she was going to visit her mom at the gravesite. So they report her missing, and 2 days later, there's some hunters that are going squirrel hunting. What the fuck is squirrel hunting, and why would one want to do that? Okay. So they're going squirrel hunting and they find Tranisha's body about 20 miles away from where she was supposed to be. So the investigators call her father and they tell him, "Sir, we're so sorry, but we found your daughter." And Sterling Sr. and Sterling Jr. and the rest of the family, they're hurting. They're so sad because why would somebody want to do this to her? Who would do this to her? But the cops know they gotta try to figure out who did it. They know they have a serial killer on the loose, but this couldn't be the same person because this girl is black. The other girls were white. So they dismissed the idea that it was a serial killer that did this too because of the racial difference. How wrong they were, because once they started running ballistics and started analyzing the crime scene, they checked Tranisha's computer and they didn't find any leads there. But what they did find was that DNA evidence that was at the scene of the crime matched the genetic evidence from the other killings. And now they're like, "Oh shit, we actually have a serial killer that's not prejudiced. He don't have a specific type. No, he does not. It's all over the place." And I mean, I'm not going to front. Initially, I thought that he had a type because they were all young white females at LSU or had just graduated from LSU. And now you got older white women, younger white women. You got uh 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 women with kids that are being thrown in the mix, and now a black girl. Now, her official cause of death was labeled blunt force trauma to the head. And about a month later, the police, they've exhausted every avenue. So they've enlisted the help of the FBI and they release a profile of the suspect. Y'all, this is some criminal minds BAU type shit, okay? See, Tranisha's murder was a little different because it was a high risk time to commit murder in broad daylight while she was at the cemetery. Unlike the others, where they were in their home and taken where they could be hidden in a vehicle or, something like that. Now, the profile itself described the offender as a white, possibly Hispanic male, 25 to 35 years old, who can lift 155 to 175 pounds with a size 10 to 11 shoe. The task force said that the suspect was wearing a Rollins brand shoe from a discount store in at least one of the murders. Now, I talked about how the suspect was likely to be, they talked about rather, excuse me, how the suspect was likely to be in a job that they had to be, physically fit or something where they interacted with the public on a daily basis or on a regular basis in order for them to be able to, blend so well and not be noticed. And they're telling the public, hey, pay attention because whoever is doing this is becoming enraged at the time that they're doing these murders and they're getting more graphic and they're getting more gruesome and they're getting out of control. Like I said, how wrong they were with that profile. They are nowhere near close because this King Koopa looking dude does not look Hispanic to me, nor does he look white. But Derek was watching the news, and now that the police think that it's a Hispanic man, he's free to go on to his next victim. Now, it took him a while, but he did. About 5 months later, He finds Carrie Yoder. Carrie Lynn Yoder was born November 6th, 1976 in Highland, New York to David and Linda Yoder. She grew up with her brother Gary and was raised in Tampa, Florida. And as she got older, she did the typical girly things. She loved dancing, photography. She was a bit of a daredevil though, because she liked to do that skydiving shit. And, she was into the outdoors and traveling. Like before she even got to college, she had been to Europe. Her brother always talked about, oh, yeah, she's been all over the world. She's been to Europe like 3 times. She does what she wants and lets the credit card company deal with it. Listen, I wish I had them kind of issues. I wish I could go all over the world and let the credit card company deal with it. Mm. Ooh, it sucks being an adult. Anywho, she ends up going to the University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida in 1994, and she graduated with a bachelor's degree in botany in 1997. Come through education. Now, she stayed there and got a master's degree in biology from the University of Central Florida, and then she decided that she was going to go to Louisiana to go to none other than LSU, where she wanted to get her doctorate. So she moves to Iberville Parish, Louisiana, and it's near LSU's campus. And she starts her doctoral degree there, and she's got her place and everything. And one day, Derek sees her and he's ready to strike. He's free as a bird. March 3rd, 2003, Derek breaks into her home on Dotson Avenue near the campus. Now, she's talking to her boyfriend on the phone at the time, and she's like, yeah, babe, I gotta go to the grocery store. Mardi Gras is about to go down, so I need to go ahead and go to the store now. And she goes to the store and she gets whatever she needs, and she comes back to the house. Now, when she gets inside of the house, she's putting the groceries up, and Derek takes that as a prime opportunity to go ahead and attack because she's distracted. She's not paying any attention. So he grabs her, he rapes her, he beats her, and he strangles her. He takes her body and leaves. And, they're looking for her. People are calling, where is she? Where is she? Where is she? But she's missing. Carrie is just completely gone. It took almost 10 days of suffering and the unknown before Carrie's body was discovered in a marshy area, just like before, but this time by some fishermen. Her body was found at the Atchafalaya River Basin, which is near the Whiskey Bay exit off of I 10. Now, this was the same area where Pamela's body had been found. And the cops know, okay, we got to find this person fast because this is getting out of control. Just like the other bodies, they do an autopsy, and Carrie's cause of death is asphyxiation by strangulation. And it confirms that she was also beaten and raped as well, just like the other girls. Like at this point, everybody's on alert. Everybody's scared. You've got all these women, black and white. There's no age specification. There's no, particular type of woman. This man is all over the place when it comes to his victims. And then you got Mardi Gras going on. You got a bunch of college students and a bunch of professionals, and he going around killing whoever he wants, raping whoever he wants, beating whoever he wants until he got to that last victim. Because that last victim, she was going to make sure that she stayed alive to take him down. That last victim being Diane Alexander. Now, at this point, Derek is kind of just bold with his moves. Like, he's no longer sneaking in, he's just knocking on doors, he's pretending to be homeless, he's pretending to, need help, he's doing whatever he wants to do. On July 9th, 2002, Derek knocks on Diane Alexander's door. Now, Diane lived in the St. Martin Parish area. It's like a rural area. He knocks on her door and he was like, say, love, sorry to bother you. I was just wondering if you could, help me with some directions. And she was like, okay. Now, I'm sorry. Personally, if I know that there's a killer on the loose, especially a serial killer, I'm not just sitting there gonna open my door for somebody. Hell, I could be sitting there on the couch looking dead at you through the blinds, and I'm not gonna open my door. You can talk to me through my Ring camera. But of course, they didn't have those back then. I don't know. But she opens the door and he asks her for directions. And as soon as he gets opportunity, Bam! He hits her. He just starts attacking her. He's hitting her, bashing her head in, all of that. He drags her throughout the house, and then he does something very strange. He cuts the air conditioning off. Now, the reason why he did that is because he wanted to make sure that he could hear everything that was going on in her house. Little does she know that actually saved her life because he's banging her head into stuff. He's hitting her. He's attacking her. He's trying to rape her. He's beating her uncontrollably. He hits her in the forehead and she immediately starts to feel woozy. She's feeling like she's going to lose consciousness. And then her son comes home. When Derek hears her son's keys come through the door, oh, homie took off. So her son comes in and he finds his mother battered and bruised. And he calls 911 and he tells them, "My mother was just attacked. Send help." And they take her to the hospital and she's fighting for her life. And miraculously, she survives. And she tells the police everything. She gives a description of Derek to the T. She tells them how he got into the house, all of that. And they sitting back looking stupid as hell because all they're thinking is, he been under our nose this entire time. The word duh comes to mind. See, this is where I start to think,
No, you done fucked up, right? No, 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 no. You know you done fucked up, right?
all of this time, you had the suspect right there. You let him get comfortable. You were on some, there's no way that a black man or a black person could do this. They got to be white. Okay, again, I'm not saying that, it's good that he's a black man that, is doing this because he's still killing people. But your thought process behind this is completely fucked up. Your thought process is saying, hey, no black person is capable of this. Black people commit crimes just as much as white people, just as much as Hispanics, just as much as Asians. It's the type of crimes, yes. That I will clarify. It's the type of crimes you typically won't hear about mass shootings coming from black people. You typically won't hear about school shootings from black people. You might hear of a black person taking a gun to school and shooting a person because it was, some type of personal vendetta, but it all boils down to the crime. And in this case, yes, he was a black serial killer. Black people commit these type of crimes too. This man killed so many innocent women, black and white. Majority of them were white, only one black girl. And so now you've put yourself in a situation where he's been under your nose the entire time, and now you got to try to find him. But of course, Derek is long gone. He knew that he had left a witness. He wasn't going to just stick around. Hell no. He got in his car and he took his ass all the way to Atlanta. Okay, so now comes the good part when it gets to the investigation, right? So clearly, Derek was not smart because his DNA is at every crime scene. Well, almost. His DNA was linked to at least seven women in the area between 1992 and 2004, which were the women that I discussed today. But they felt like he was responsible for a lot more. And, well, he was. And the citizens of Louisiana, they are pissed because the police fucked up big time. What they didn't review is that the police had administered like thousands of DNA tests to white men in the area because they felt like a white man was responsible. But after a while, because he kept leaving his DNA, that DNA got tested at the crime lab and it showed that the suspect had to be about 85% or higher African American genetics. And they were looking at the evidence from one particular crime scene, which was Geraldine DeSoto's. She had Derek's skin under her fingernails. She was clawing. That sealed the deal, and they put a warrant out for his arrest. But again, he's nowhere to be found. They tried everything to look for him. They even went as far as contacting, or rather attempting to contact his wife. Now, remember, I told y'all he never got divorced. He was still very much married to Jacqueline this whole time. But homegirl was petrified. Like, she legit took her kids and went into hiding. And I mean, I can't really blame her because that's a lot. Like that. basically the man that you love done, he done dicked you down and gave you kids and all of that. He's treated you like you ain't shit. And it gets to the point that her aunt was like, "Listen, that man was crazy as fuck, my baby. I see why she hiding. She don't want no affiliation with him. Y'all just gotta wait and see what happens. See if y'all can get him on your own. You hear me?" That was my weak attempt at a Louisiana accent. I'm sorry. But, she didn't want to help them. She didn't want to do anything but protect her kids. Like, this man had her doing shit she didn't want to do in their marriage. Like, that sounds like some straight Diddy and Cassie shit to me. But you know what? I'm going to leave that alone for now. So they start getting tips and everything, and they find out that Derek is in Atlanta. So they contact Atlanta PD and they're like, "Hey, we need your help in capturing the serial killer Derek Todd Lee." So they send over all the information, and they find Derek outside of an Atlanta tire shop. Y'all, he ain't even put up a fight, which was crazy to me because I was expecting him to go out in a blaze of glory. But he surrendered. So they arrest him and they extradite his ass back to Louisiana. And of course, he's being held without bond because, duh, he's killed multiple people. And they collect a DNA sample from Derek, and it confirms that his DNA does match the DNA that's at all of the crime scenes. Derek is charged with murder, but not all of them. See, there's more than one party involved, and well, let's just say adoration is taken to new heights. But you'll have to tune in next week for part 2 of the season finale. I know y'all are mad at me. Y'all are like, "What?" Hell yeah, it's 2 episodes. This is a lot. Like, it's already been damn near an hour, and I've barely scratched the surface. Like, next week will be the season 2 finale, okay? Let's go. Like, y'all, I cannot believe that it's been 50 cases already. Like, talk about binge worthy. Y'all got me feeling all good. Yes. And I'm going to be streaming from Miami too. Ooh, let's go. That is all for this week's episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. You can follow the show on the various streams on Instagram and TikTok at Infamous One Podcast. That's the number one, by the way, not spelled out. And you can leave a review there. On Twitter, or rather X, it's Infamous One Pod, where you can also leave a review. On Facebook, you can join the private discussion group, the Infamous Ones discussion group. But please be advised, if you don't answer them questions, I ain't letting your ass in. Okay. That simple. Seriously, though. Answer the questions. And then once you get in, what's up? Tell us what you sipping on. Tell us where you from. Maybe polls and stuff in there. We be acting up. Plus, I do giveaways and, all of that good stuff. So, yeah, join the group. Y'all, the live show is less than 3 weeks away. I am so amped. Oh, let's go. Y'all have until May 31st to get your tickets. If you have not gotten them yet, go on Eventbrite right now. I'm going to drop the link in the discussion group. There are a few left. There will not be any more after May 31st or at the door. And no, you can't just walk up in there and think that you're going to buy a ticket at the door because you will not be able to. Tickets are being scanned at the door. Okay. What she say? I've been waiting on you at the door. Yep. And I am so excited to make the biggest announcement ever for the Infamous Ones. I have been sitting on this for a minute, so I feel like I'm about to bust and I can't wait to tell y'all. Oh, it's driving me crazy. Like, I cried so much when I got the exciting news. So I can't wait to share it with y'all. All I can say is get ready because, baby, whew, the Infamous Ones is taking off. You hear me? The live show is going to be everything food, drinks, a case that is so important to me. Meet and greet with me, plus photos. I got that good old photographer coming to make sure everybody gets some good shots with me, okay? So get ready, baby. The Infamous Ones is currently doing ad specials. $30 gets you a 30-second ad. Have yours truly promote your business by contacting me and getting in on that special so that all can hear about your greatness on this episode, okay? If you are inquiring about ad space, email me at infamous1pod@gmail.com. That's infamousonepod@gmail.com. The show streams on multiple streaming services like Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and so on and so on. So please leave a review. It only takes a few seconds. Y'all, these reviews matter. Okay. And now to the reviews. The first review comes from Spotify from Music JSP, and it's on the Big Three episode, part two, where I want to say that was the episode that we did at the end of the year. And the review says, "Love, love, love this podcast. Details and dramatics are on point. I feel like I'm actually watching a movie. The stories are vividly told. Keep on doing what you do, sis. K." Oh, thank you, darling. I am loving entertaining you also. Please keep listening and keep reviewing because I am here for all of it. The next review comes from Spotify as well from Von Bent Wrist Smalls. Okay, that's a unique one. All right. But it's on the You Can't Escape, which was the last week's episode on Richard Ellerby. And it says, "I haven't had a story piss me off this bad in a long time. It all started with his mom ignoring his blatant violent behavior, per usual, from that generation of parents. After that, the police and courts failed them terribly, putting her in jail after being assaulted, not arresting him 3 whole times. Ugh, it pissed me off that he took himself out. Glad he's gone. Mad he took the easy way out." Listen, there were so many times I was left sitting wondering, why didn't she leave? Why didn't they do anything? Why the police department didn't do more? They set this woman up for failure. Like, I'd still be in litigation right now the way I would be suing them. You heard me. Okay. Like, that's just what that is, period, point blank. Now, I'm going to give y'all a bonus review, which comes from Apple Podcast. This one comes from Heartbreaker_Ash. It's a 5-star review that says Black Excellence. "I was dying of laughter listening to the Like Father, Like Son episode. You were roasting Tracy so much, I would have thought you were from Memphis the way how you roasted him. Please keep the content coming. I love your podcast, and I am so happy that I came across your podcast. The way you tell a story and give great details keeps me coming back for more. We need more Black podcasters. Again, thank you, Kay, and love you, girly." Yes, baby, let me tell you. Okay, Tracy Burleson, ugly ass, got on my nerve. That nigga walking around here disrespecting everybody with that face. And then his little side piece, Lord. But I appreciate the review, darling. I know I be getting a little carried away sometimes. But I'm glad it's bringing y'all back for more every single week. If you want to support the show, or if you're feeling the spirit, meaning that liquor that we've been sipping on, click the link at the bottom of the screen from whatever app you're listening to this episode on and hit listener support to subscribe. The subscription started like, I think, 99 cents, and it gives you access to stuff the other listeners don't get. You can also donate via the Cash App at $infamous1pod. That's $INFAMOUSONEPOD. And donations go toward documentation, phone calls, all of that, because there's a lot that goes into it. Okay. Of course, shout out to the popcorn donators. I know I didn't do popcorn tonight. I did hot tamales, but shout out to y'all. Y'all always show me so much love. If you have a case that you want to hear more on that you feel has been ignored in the Black community, if you want to inquire about ad space or want to leave a review, send an email to infamousonepod@gmail.com. That's INFAMOUSONEPOD@gmail.com. And once again, people, please share, share, share. This podcast is growing by the day, and it means the world to me, mobbers. So keep sharing. Until then, y'all know what it is. I'm your girl Kay. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all next week with the season 2 finale and continuance of the Baton Rouge serial killer. Until then, y'all, stay mobbing. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay. Be sure to like and comment on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.